It won't surprise you to know that there are seriously underrated bedroom moves that separate the good lovers from the truly great lovers. I mean, it is no secret that when it comes to being an unforgettable lover, we tend to focus on the obvious. I mean, we put so much energy into learning how to provide pleasure specifically to the parts in between her legs that we forget the fact that sex is like a whole body experience. So many folks seem to be oblivious to the fact that you actually have the power to ignite your lover's entire body on fire. Knowing how to touch and please the parts of your lover that even she forgets about is an incredible way to set yourself up for legendary lover status and to finally win that best sex ever trophy that you've had your eyes on for a while. In this video, I'm going to share 10 unusual, underrated places to touch a woman's body to drive her wild. I guarantee you haven't thought of some of these before. Dare me that you haven't thought of some of these before. And of course, as you know, I'm gonna tell you exactly what to do to tantalize, tease, and delight them. Hi, I'm Caitlin B., sex and relationship coach, former sexual health researcher, published in peer-reviewed journals. That's true, I forgot about that for like the last 6 years, but I'm telling you that today. Before we jump into these mind-melting points, it's important to note that when it comes to touch, it's not just location. It is actually how you touch. In fact, if you took nothing else away from this video, get that how is the single most important factor of touch. I could tell you 100 different places to touch a woman, but if you're like poke, poke, tickle, tickle, karate chop, I'm looking at you, husband, it's not gonna be a big ol' turn on for her. As a general rule, I advise you to keep your touches loving. Whoa. As if you were literally transmitting love through your fingertips. Soft, slow, and sensual is the way to go unless she asks for something else. Important note, the following locations are powerful, okay? They're not just like usual, normal, run-of-the-mill, everyday touches. So you're gonna wanna start gently and gauge how she reacts. I can almost guarantee that some of these are gonna drive her wild, and some of these she's gonna be like, I don't know how And that is because, as with all things sex and relationships, we're all unique snowflakes, okay? And I say that with a lot of pride. No two bodies are the same. So make sure that you read her body language and have some verbal communication with words about whether or not she's into that. Remember that variety is the spice of life and of pleasure. So make sure not to linger on any one of these areas too long. Make sure that you switch up your movement from straight lines to circles and from predictable to random and anything and everything in between. All right, so what are these 10 unusual places? Let's dive on in. Number 10, behind her ears. The ears and the area surrounding them are such a neglected erogenous zone. They are highly sensitive and they rarely get touched. I mean, you know that joke about like washing behind your ears? We don't even remember to touch behind our own ears. So when a lover gets intimate up in there, it can feel really, really good. Try rubbing a finger gently along her earlobe, behind her ear, and tracing down her jawline. Oh my God. Do that slowly and while kissing her. Oh, snap. You are going to have at least one woman melting. It might be me. Of course, you can also use your mouth and your tongue. You can give the earlobes little nibbles. You can kiss and suck on her earlobes. Pro tip here is to be mindful of your breathing because there is such a fine line between a little and like a Darth Vader which is, you know, potentially the vibe you're going for, but like just in case it's not, and you're more of like playing a Luke Skywalker role, you know, maybe just breathe in and out your nose or turn your head a little bit. Number 9, her clavicles, AKA collarbones. Now, when I ran this video by some of my male friends, they were like, I never forget to kiss her neck. Okay, let's be really clear. I'm not talking about the neck. I'm talking about this bone. It might just be dying for a little tender, loving care. And that's because this is a part of the body that doesn't really frequently get touched. And that's what makes it such a fantastic area to kiss and caress breasts. I mean, again, there's the neck here, there's the breast here, but there's all this real estate between those two highly trafficked areas. So paying attention to these clavicles, these collarbones, not only feels great, but it also shows your partner that you're noticing all of the little details about her body and not just going for the more obvious locations. The back of the upper arm. This is the skin that sort of covers the triceps, and it deserves sensual touch. Running your fingers along the inside and the back side of your lover's upper arm is a great source of pleasure. And that's because this area doesn't get a ton of touch, but it is incredibly sensitive. And also for you, it feels really nice. It's like super smooth, high quality skin over there. The skin of this area that is leading to the underarm, in fact, one of my esthetician friends once told me that men have armpits, but women have underarms, is extremely sensitive. And just like all the other really sensitive parts of our bodies, having it touched in just the right way can be really erotic, but it's also very vulnerable because we don't really let too many people into this part of us. Number 7, her heart. I mean, it's the heart. Come on, like how on the nose can we get? But you might be thinking to yourself, like, how the f am I gonna touch her heart? It's like inside of her body. That's weird, Caitlin. I didn't mean it so literally. Touching over her heart is incredibly energetically connecting. It is such a sweet and tender spot. It's the place that we like cover when we feel deeply touched by something, when we feel really moved by love. That all happens here in the energetic heart at the center of the body. Hovering a hand over her heart, gently resting your hand over her heart, even just gently tracing your fingers over this area in between her breasts. And remember also that the heart is like 360 degrees. It's like a 3D organ. So you can also put your hand over the back of her heart. One thing that you might notice is that a lot of us are really tense and really bound on the back side of her heart. So this can be a very connecting, very vulnerable, very energetically erotic experience. Placing your palm at the back of her heart, taking a couple deep breaths, just tuning into her body and what's going on there will give you all kinds of information. Number 6, lower back and sacrum. The low back and sacrum, which is the upside down triangle at the back of her pelvis where her spine ends just above her tailbone, is an incredibly sexy area to touch. It's above the butt, which makes it distinct from the butt. You might have a lot of familiarity with going for the butt. You might not be going for this part of the body so much. In Tantra, this is actually one of the most important parts of the body. So you can definitely touch on it outside of the bedroom, but you can also call attention to it and touch it inside of the bedroom. You can gently trace little circles around this area. You can massage it. For me, and for a lot of women, there's a lot of tension in the muscles that plug directly into the sacrum. So you can very, very gently, or depending on her level of comfort, maybe you can give a real massage in there. But either way, this can release a ton of tension, and it tends to be sort of like the backside of the genitals. So a lot of the nerves and sort of the shared energetic and connected tissue that runs at the sacrum is also connected to the rest of her pelvis and to her pleasure centers. So it actually moves a lot for you to touch there. It's also very intimate. It is also very vulnerable. Oh, this is also something that you can touch when you're out in public. You can just put your hand over her sacrum, over her low back. Send some love there. This move feels confident. It feels very protective. It feels kind of flirtatious, and I think it is incredibly attractive. Number 5, the inside of her knees. Such a delightful place to touch when you get it right. Now, to be clear, I didn't say behind the knees. That is a tickle zone, and I do not want you to go there unless she specifically asks for it. But the inside of her knees, which is at the end of the inside of her thighs, is arousing because it actually makes her want to have you touch further up, but you're not actually doing it, right? So she might be thinking of places that she would like for your hand to wander, but you're just staying right there where her knee meets the inside of her thighs. It's a very, very sensitive area. And again, it's just sort of baseline arousing because it's teasing. It's also touching on the nerves of the inside of the thigh. It's just, it's delicious, and it's also very unexpected. And you can also start on her lower calf, the inside of her ankle, and slowly work your way up to the knee and then stop there, you will drive her freaking nuts because she's going to want you to keep moving those hands and fingers upward. And then, she'll be putty in your hands and you can decide when she gets to have that as a reward. Which brings me to number 4, in between her toes. Okay, not everyone is into feet. I totally get that. But foot rubs, foot massages, let's just say that they are pretty popular among the women folk. Okay, when's the last time that you felt someone touch in between your toes? It is a neglected area. You can always test the waters by just slowly running your fingers along the top of her foot, right where her toes connect to her foot. You can also gently run your fingers in between the creases of her toes and see the kind of reaction that you get. But if you're giving a full-on foot massage, I really recommend, unless your fingers are super beefy, in which case I like sticking my fingers in between those person's toes until they relax a little bit. This is a great way to sort of loosen up and break up the tension inside of the feet. It is a very pro move. It has to be done with care, but it shows a tremendous attention to detail. It shows dedication, and I think it will make her feel really cared for, and it may just loosen up her feet. And you know what? Her feet are where she connects to the earth. It's really important. It's worth noting that if you are open to it, this is an incredibly erotic place to get into with your mouth and your tongue. There's something kinky about it for sure, but you don't have to be a foot fetishist in order to get into and get off on getting in between those toes. Number 3, the balls of her ankles. Shout out to one of my mentors, Jaya, creator of the Erotic Blueprints, for teaching me this incredible energetic touch. What you do is you take your fingers and you circle the balls of her ankles. This is on both the inside and the outside of each ankle. Someone write in the comments what the name of this part of the body is. Just ankle bone? Anyways, you can make little circles around the ankle bones. It is so sensitizing. It feels so good. It's so vulnerable. Not everyone loves it, but I recommend that you give it a try. Giving your partner a full body warm up, maybe just touching them sort of all over their body and then incorporating this can be really, really, really nice. Number 2, the pelvic bone. This bony part of the body is named by one of my other mentors, Ellen Heed, as a bony handle. And by this, I'm referring to the hip bones that sort of stick out in parallels in the front side of her body, on the front side of the pelvis. Now, depending on her anatomy, you might be able to feel them right away, or you actually might have to feel around for them a little bit with your palms. But either way, once you find them, it is so nice and so unexpected for you to rest your hands there and just push down gently. Now, this works best if she is lying down. I could have started there, but you find them and you just put a little bit of pressure on them. What this does is it actually creates the sensation of being held. Most of us as full-grown adults don't have the opportunity to be held and cradled like little babes, but it does feel really good when we can recreate that sensation. And since the pelvis is one of the largest parts of the body and the largest bone in the body, you can actually just hold it and give her the sensation of being held. Now, you can also trace these with your fingers. You also can give her a little bit of massage, use the heels of your hands, etc. The hip flexors that are attached can be extremely tight, especially if she sits all day in a chair in an office or in a car. So there's so much tension to be released from here, but at a minimum, just holding and touching them. And number 1, unexpected places to turn her on is anywhere that her body creases. I'm talking about the parts of your body where your skin folds in on itself. The best example is right underneath a breast, right underneath a bum cheek. And the reason that this is such a wonderful place is that so many of us carry some amount of shame around these body parts. We don't often allow other people to touch them. We don't really touch them ourselves. Maybe we touch them when we need to, when we're cleaning them or putting powder or something, maybe during the summer. But showing some love to these parts of her body can actually help her feel very seen and appreciated. It can be a moment of connection and openness. Certainly not every single woman is going to be as into that, so check with her. But if she is, and you can be very tender and very loving when you do that, you'll be surprised at the kind of blossoming and blooming that you will see in the woman in front of you. So there you have it, 10 places to touch her that I bet you had not thought of. Write in the comments if you can think of any others that you have found to be very arousing and very delightful for your partner. And make sure while you're there that you are subscribed to my channel for more sex and relationship advice so that you can have the best sex ever. I'm Caitlin B. I'll see you here next week. Bye.